Hello everyone, I'm Wave, and today I'm going to be talking about Eden, or I guess if I was to use the full name, it would be Eden. There were only two on the planet. Now, despite how long that title is, Eden's actually a pretty short visual novel. It's probably going to run you on the side of either like 6 to 8 hours, but I do think despite how condensed of a visual novel it is, I think it does a solid job of being able to build up its world and characters within the runtime that it has. So let's get into it. First off, when I think of Eden, I actually think of how well the graphics are, and how well it's held up. I've definitely played visual novels that do look better and have more graphical fidelity than Eden, but I do think Eden does hold up quite well. Just at any point in time while you're reading Eden, you can pause and look, and you'll see that it is just on an attention to detail that is pretty unmatched by a lot of other visual novels, at least that I've played. There is just full lip flaps for each of the characters. There's proper blinking. Every background CG is very detailed as well. And so just like whilst you're reading Eden, it almost feels like you are kind of within an anime episode. I do think the world of Eden, when you start the game, it sets up its world and almost feels a little too broad. When you're playing as the main character, the first, I want to say, quarter of the game is going to be like a very large scope as far as setting up the world, especially with the knowledge that, maybe it's only like a 6 to 8 hour game. You're going to be like, well, what are we doing? How is this going to unfold? But after that first quarter of the game, it does a really good job of being able to shrink down the scope of the game to a much more manageable sense. And in a way, with the title being there's only like two in the world, it does shrink down to the point where there is a focus on only the main character and then the main heroine, and then there are a few side characters that will pop in. But it does a really good job of being able to, bring things down and then work with its runtime in a way to where you're able to really break down the characterization of the two main characters in a way that, just works very well. I want to say the soundtrack does a really good job with setting the tone throughout the game, because once you get into that second act of the game, after the first quarter or so of playing, a lot of the instrumentation with the piano and then the various other instruments that they use throughout the soundtrack has this almost kind of reverb or hollowness to it, to where you can have a very upbeat melody that's playing, but the instrumentation that they use almost gives a lot of the songs throughout the game an almost melancholic vibe to it, which I do think works well with the setting that they use. It does really kind of hit home with the level of almost loneliness and just being in a almost barren wasteland with no one else around you. Eden, I think, is a solid game. It's definitely not on the higher end of visual novels that I have played, but I think for how short it is, it's a very good game to maybe just pick up as a sort of palate cleanser. Maybe you just finished a longer visual novel, maybe running around 40 hours long or so, and you just want to play something shorter, be able to bang through a title real quickly and still get a fun experience out of it. I think Eden is a perfect game for that. It's going to run you maybe anywhere between 6 to 8 hours. So I do think it is a very brief yet very enjoyable game that does have a decent amount of lasting impact. I still think that Eden is one of the like more memorable titles that I've read, even if I don't think it is one of the more like impactful ones. But anyways, those have been my brief thoughts on Eden. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.